Hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening, guys. Good evening, all. Okay, welcome. Yes. Good evening, Sagar. Good evening, Krishna, Rajeshri, Zubair, Mukesh, Rahul, Kavita, Swapnil, and everybody in the house. Okay. The time already is 9:02, and let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with day number 2 of our career program. Just a quick thing. Yesterday, what we discussed, it was a 5 rules which we have to include into our lifestyle for accomplishing massive success. Okay, that is part of day 1. We are going to even take some time out to plan, strategize, and move ahead in our direction. Okay, so yesterday day 1 is done. Today's focus is going to be on how do we plan our careers. Okay, nothing but what is the expectation from, let's say, 0 to 2 years of experience, or 2 to 4 years of experience, 4 to 6, and so on. Okay, based upon, guys, I have spent like 12 years in industry, worked with 40 people, recruited a lot of people, worked on multiple projects, multiple companies. I keep interacting with a lot of top positions from different projects, different companies. So accordingly, I will share you what exactly is the core expectation out of any individual at different experience levels. And I feel you guys should definitely work towards growing in that area. So that's a pretty important one. So we are going to do that. And tomorrow 9 p.m. Will be a implementation day. Okay, so come tomorrow with proper laptops, where we will be merging the information of day 1, day 2, and accordingly really strategizing what we should implement. We will think, analyze, and come up with your own roadmap of next actions which you are supposed to take. Okay, so that's where we will take a pause. Tomorrow we will work on that implementation part. Okay, and then further things will go through. Now chalo, let's get started. Okay, so career planning. So before we get down into very specific of things, so we are already running on YouTube as well, so session is recorded, you can watch it later. Now specifics of career, let me just tell you. Okay, there are n number of ways how do you go ahead in your career. One is key, it just works randomly. Any opportunity that you get, you jump in, you take on forward. It could be random projects, random people, random companies, and you just move for random technologies and just move on with time. Okay, the other way is you be on the driving seat of your career. You choose when you want to do what you want to do, and accordingly plan going forward in your career. And guys, based upon lot of experiences of lot of people, I realized that those who really strategize and decide how to go in the career, they are more happy, they reach more positions high up the ladder, make a very decent amount of money. Okay, but those who are just leaving things too random, those people really struggle. So if you are on driving seat of your career, you will be able to make very nicely in the industry. So it's required to plan your career effectively, looking ahead for next 5 years or even long term at times. Okay, so just understand, today we are going to develop that vision, what all we are supposed to know in order to go to that direction. Okay, fine, all that good. But now what is it, guys? Okay, your career is just a step-by-step process, just like walking up a steps or a staircase. You take step 1, then step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Accordingly, you move on. Okay. Yes, sometimes you might take 2 steps ahead, and then you might take a 4 step, 6 step. You might skip in between. Okay. But just remember, you cannot drastically jump from layer 1 to layer X. Okay. If you really want to have a very successful and a stable career, you need to gradually grow in your level. Whoever you are right now, you need to define what's your next level, learn towards that, master that. Once you master that, then identify the next level. If many people I have seen, they try to just hack it, they have lost a lot of time here and there. Now let me directly bypass and try to reach up. What happens is, all those guys who has a weak foundation, they have not learned a lot of things at the granular level. If these people straight away go up, their life becomes really very painful. without right knowledge, without proper foundation, even if you bypass and reach top of in your companies or projects, your life will be very miserable, because the more up you go, it becomes demanding, challenging, responsibility of not just your work but your team's work on you. And if they are not able to do, they will be blamed, but first blame comes to you because you are the senior guy in the system, and it will definitely have impact on each of the members who are at the top of the ladder. So you need to understand, if your core is not right, if you are weak in this foundation, even if you bypass, your life is going to become hell. And that is where you will struggle somewhere here and there. So just understand, conclusion here is every layer expects something out of you, and you need to learn that then and there itself. For example, 0 to 3 years of experience expect something from an individual. You need to understand what is IT expecting from a 0 to 3 years professional, and you have to learn that, master that, practice that every single day at work. And once you have done it, then trying to move up the ladder. Okay, what is the expectation of 3 to 5 years, then 5 to 7 years, and you have to justify each layer properly. And that's how your career growth should happen incrementally. That will be more stable, and you will be able to deal with further complexities in a very peaceful manner. Okay, now, so today we are going to walk through what is this expectation from every layer, but that's how the growth should be. Okay, now another important thing is sometimes people don't really learn it. Okay, so people are into some projects or some companies, or without guidance, or in production support, they do not get the right knowledge of learning in project. And then they might have actually on paper spent more time, let's say 4 years, 5 years, but their knowledge level is still somewhere around 2 years of experience person. Because this is what is the truth of the IT industry. Okay, so having some experience does not mean, having experience on paper does not mean that you have that much knowledge. And now the industry is really opening up for this thought. Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was different. If we really get somebody having 7 years of experience, we will be like, okay, to aata hoga usko. But right now, the market is really changing the perspective towards people. Just having experience on paper, slowly and steadily, the value of that is going down, and more focus is coming to what knowledge you bring in the system. Okay, and guys, recently there have been some instances in like some of my friends, they are working in some very top organizations, okay, across the globe, very established companies. And the way of thought process is, you don't look at the experience of the person. Okay, if you're hiring somebody, evaluate based upon the knowledge that they are offering right now, and based upon what role you have. And while they're defining role, they're removing the experience expectations from that. Some kind of job descriptions, even like this is coming, you just define your role and check whether the person can meet this role or not. If it meets, hire. If it does not, leave it. Don't much look at the experience part. That really opens up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. Okay, just bookish or on paper experience, because slowly and steadily the value is disappearing. So that makes many of us very serious. Bhai, then what, how do we justify our knowledge if experience is not going to talk about it on paper? So how do we justify? So you need to understand, there could be possibility that with 4 years of actual experience, you will be able to justify knowledge of somebody having 6 years or 7 years experience. And with 4 years of actual on paper experience, you might have knowledge as bad as 1 year, 2 year experience. And now industry understands that. Okay, you cannot do much hide and seek. You will be exploited, or your vulnerabilities will be shown at work. Why? Because people start expecting, and this is how companies are looking at employees right now. Okay, and that is where recently you might have heard all these news, right? Google Sundar Pichai, he said ki bhai, okay, Google as a company, they are struggling with low performances, he's saying. And like, if we have to become high productive, we have to do this, we have to do that. And there are many other organizations, they are thinking, how do we be more productive and reduce all these things? So you need to understand the experience on paper will not have any value maybe as we go forward in future, but the knowledge that you carry, that is going to reward you in life. Okay? So if you carry good knowledge with less experience, you can get better pay, better promotions. And if you have a bad knowledge, no matter how much experience you have, there will might be juniors who will be getting a better pay than you, and you have to face the truth. So your growth in life will depend upon what knowledge you have and how do you work on your day-to-day job. So it's a complete transparent way of living now. Okay, now comes the thing, what exactly then industry expects and what you are good in right now and what you need to evolve in. So let's start discussing it one by one. Okay, now let's consider, first of all, we'll pick up any regular application development project. Okay, so it could be developed in, let's say, Java, Python, .NET, anything. Okay, so basic project which is having three primary components, right? A UI will be there, a server will be there, a database will be there. It might be further installed in some infrastructure. It could be AWS or whatever. So some AWS, GCP or Azure kind of platforms or on-premises infrastructure. So that's what it is. Next, there will be a QA. So in QA then comes then automation QA and like a manual QA. These are the categories. So DBA roles and all. So basically this is what is a project, right? One UI guy, one server guy, let's say a QA who can do manual and automation. It is running in some infrastructure which might be managed by DevOps or you, and now that's what is the full system. Okay, and accordingly, how do you build applications? So now we have to really understand at every layer what all is expected and how you should plan your next level of career. Okay, so chalo, let's get started. I'm sharing my screen, and in a notepad, one by one, let's start knowing this. And again, the session is recorded, so if you miss out something, so don't worry about it. You can go through it again. But if you can take some running notes based upon what you find is valuable, that will be good as well. Okay, chalo, sharing the screen. Okay, so what exactly we do in IT industry? First of all, we have our own product. Okay, we have, let's say, product or service companies. Okay, so either the company will have their own product which needs to be developed, or some clients will be coming, they will specify a requirement, nothing but there is a requirement and we have to build software for that. Okay, guys, thoda sa screen ko chhod do team, don't do drawing on the screen. Okay, now there is a product, there is a service, so nothing but there are requirements. Whoever specifies, there is a requirement, you have to meet that. Okay, now what exactly is the first level is you have to meet functionality. Whatever is the requirement, you have to develop that functionality and give them back. Guys, now just think, even a college student, okay, if he is good enough, college student, if is good enough, can develop something functionally. But that's not as per what IT industry wants. IT expects something different, but meeting a functionality is the bare minimum. Okay, given some requirement, you should know how to convert it into code. It might be a bad code, that is fine, but you should be able to build some code which meets the requirement. That is your thumb rule. Okay, now in this, different levels will be there. Okay, nothing but, let's say, easy, simple requirements, small tickets, easy requirements. You should be able to do that. Small requirement, maybe in one day you can finish, or half of a day you can finish, or 2 hours you can finish. Small requirements. That is again a functionality. Now it has multiple levels, let's say medium complexity. Next, it could be like more complex. And further, if you want, you can split it more here as well. Some work which can be done in 3 days, some work which can be done in 5 days, some work 7 days, some work 1 day, different range. So first focus is functionality wise, we should be able to code and build the system to meet the requirement across these different layers, small to very complex. Now, from different years of experience, so in the end, we are going to do this 0 to 3 years, what exactly expected, 3 to 5, what exactly, 5 to 7, what exactly, and then 7 plus onwards, what exactly. Okay, the same requirement, each of this guy, the way they approach should be completely different. So there is no two ways about it. It has to be different. Now the thing is, the first is fine. So your primary aim when you start on any project is this. Ki bhai, can you really build the code to meet the requirement whichever business wants? And if you're able to do that, that is bare minimum. That has to be there. You do it bad, that is fine, but it has to be. But then comes, okay, start differentiating. Okay, one is ugly way of coding and one is the right way of coding. So when you come to the right way, every language has its own defined standards. Okay, coding standards. So you have to just make sure, guys, that's what professionalism starts coming. Junior, fresher will do very shabby code, somehow maybe even meet the requirement, but not abiding by disciplines, how exactly it should happen. So this is what, as a 0 to, you should start running. So first is know how to build functionally. Second, immediately learn these standards, spend time, research about it, Google about it, and start implementing it straight away. And that will be called as right way of doing something. Okay. Now, further on top of it. So once you know how to build requirement, once you know how to follow the coding standards for the application, okay, best practices and all, then comes throughout your end-to-end cycle, what tools will be used. Every project might have a lot of tools. Okay, lot of tools, small here, there, everywhere, right from your requirement phase till the go live phase. Okay, different kind of tools or libraries will be there. Okay, let's say starting with something called as Jira. Okay, as simple as Jira. It's a tool, it's a website, it's an application used for project tracking, progressing, work, and all that. We just start with that. Okay, so step one, let's say the tools itself. Just some examples I'm saying. Starting with Jira, one basic tool, requirements come from Jira. Next is your entire code will be in some tool called as Git or Bitbucket code repository, SVN. Okay. Next, you will have some build tool like Maven. Okay, just some example. Next, you will have your coding editor like Eclipse. Next, you will have some tools for connecting to, let's say, infrastructure. Okay, like anything. It could be as simple as like Mobaxterm, or in Mac or Ubuntu system, you simply have terminals. Windows, you have Mobaxterm or like winscp or putty. These are like simple tools which are going to be used on a daily basis. Okay. Next, once you do this, next logging will be there always. So logs related, some tool will be there. Some companies will use more logging for microservices like kibanas and all. Okay, then you will be having another kind of tools for coding standards check and quality check like Sonar. Okay, these could be some of the tools which I am able to just recollect at the top of the mind. But as you dig down more in your projects, more and more stuff will keep coming. Now the thing is, you need to really know, and not because your team member told you to. You should really understand the need and the right way of working of each of these tools. Many people don't spend this time. So tool ka right way of working, the best practices of working with these tools, because there are so many features in these tools which the teams are not even aware of and they will never even use. But that could really simplify your knowledge. So with more maturity, yeah, so you should have awareness about the tools which will be used end to end, right from the beginning till the very end, throughout the process of application development. So you need to understand based upon your area what all. So there is another thing, okay? Postman will be there, jmeter will be there. So like this, the list keeps going on. It will be there for every project, okay? Next, once you understand, okay, you have to actively search for all this. Next, you need to understand end-to-end process of working, okay, which means who is supposed to do what, and where. Okay guys, I'm just trying to share you the best way of working, which I feel is the best way. Okay, so I might be wrong somewhere here and there, but I genuinely lived like this and I found maximum results. That's what I'm trying to share with you. Even though you work on one part of the system, okay, but you need to know the end-to-end visibility, where what things happen, and who does what when they do what, where all the problems can happen. By guys, you will be able to find solutions or debug things properly if you have more information with you. The more knowledge, the more visibility you have, you will be able to solve the problems properly. Okay, and that is what, if you know the end-to-end working of the project, how things happen end to end, who does what, where, whenever some problem is happening, you will be in a better situation to solve this problem. Okay, and that's what it is about. So always try to really understand end-to-end process, which people, what experience level does what in the team, with seniors, what are people expecting. I just want you to keep your senses alert while you do your day-to-day job, guys, because unfortunately many people don't do it. They are like, "Arey, apna kaam karte, let's focus only on our work," and because of that they are not advancing properly. So involved in every meeting that you go, any discussions that you go, think, listen, who and what makes sense about it, because the more right information goes to you, you will be able to better take your career forward. Better decision making you will be able to do. Okay, fine. So simple. First, requirements. Next, standards. Next, tools that are being used. Next, end-to-end process that being used. Okay, now comes the furthermore thing, how do you take these things forward in terms of some other defined standards, in terms of basic commenting, unit testing. Okay, next, automation discipline, like API automation. So sometimes even the dev team has to do this. API automation and end-to-end automation, application automation. Guys, I don't know whether I shared this. There are companies, okay, even some of my clients were discussing, in their company less than 10% QA is available, and slowly they are planning to 100% become a company which is not having any manual QAs. If they want any QA, it has to be automation QA only. And there are companies who are saying, why even automation QA? Let the developer itself do the automation QA, because it's again coding. So we don't know how the market will shape, but you need to understand there are European countries who are already doing this kind of decision making. So if you want to get into a QA line, automation is the future. Everything is happening at scale. So I want you to be a master in automation QA, because developers will not be able to always think like a QA. So QA role will be there, but if you're only manual, future is going to be very scary in few years from now. So automation QA. So you need to really again understand on all of these aspects as well. Okay, now fine, commenting, basic unit testing, API automation, end-to-end automation. You need to know the maturity to be able to deal with all of these things. Okay, further when we say, you need to have speciality on the database aspect. Okay guys, writing simple queries is very basic. Okay, I have never seen in my entire 12 years a person who says ki bhai, these queries and tables should be created or done by DBA. a Java developer has always, with my full experience, a basic Java developer writes queries, designs tables, they take care of that. There might be some companies where they have special people, but I have not seen it. Okay, and I don't really feel that is even required. So bare minimum database knowledge is required, and that bare minimum is enough to do the functional stuff. That means given any functionality, without any external support, you should be able to build a proper rock solid database layer. Okay, maybe it is not rock solid, but at least solid database layer, you should be able to build it up. Okay, which includes designing the tables, which includes primary keys, which includes indexes, okay, which includes the naming conventions of your database, which includes even PL/SQL procedures. Sometimes database procedures has to be written. Not all logics will be written on the Java side. People prefer to do that even on the database side. It depends on your standards. And a Java developer is supposed to do that. Don't think somebody else will come. Okay. So for many projects, this is how I've seen. Yes, for some projects, variations might be there here and there. But I want to tell you, while database knowledge is required, full functional development without any support. Okay, there is a role of a DBA, but that role is completely separate. They are for DB performance tuning, query optimization, performance tuning. With more load, it's getting problematic. They basically deal with that kind of stuff. That's a different role altogether, a DBA role. Okay, but you need to know the basic database knowledge, and it is mandatory if you are a backend person. Front end walo se people don't ask it, but backend developer mandate. Okay, now further you need to have this thought process. When to go for a SQL DB versus NoSQL DB. When to go for a SQL DB versus NoSQL DB, because different kind of nature will be there with this and with this. Okay, in my projects we are having both, and there is a need why this has to be there. There is a need for this has to be there. So guys, if let's say if you are given that decision making choice, okay, we have this functionality to be built, whether you will go for this or this, or if in the same functionality you want to write here also, are you that capable enough to make that decision? And that's what comes with more maturity of system, learning, growing, and that's what is the best decision maker then. Okay, and maybe this decision you would have to do even with a 2 years experience. Okay, when to do this, when to do this. So simple stuff. I'm just trying to share what all will come as part of your day-to-day activity, and then let's standardize what IT market is actually expecting. Okay, now fine, as you start getting this kind of knowledge, now comes ultimate stuff, open sources, libraries. Okay, now as a developer, maybe not with zero experience, but as soon as you start getting some industry experience, it could be 1 year also. Okay, for many companies, they expect you to do R&D POCs on open sources or third-party libraries and make decisions when to apply, what to apply. Okay, many kind of open sources will be there, or even sometimes paid tools. Okay, so let me tell a few basic names. Okay, you might have heard about a few things like Redis. It's a basic caching tool. Or there is something called as EhCache, caching tool. Nobody knows it. If you have not worked on it, you will not know it. Point is, a question might be asked, we want to do caching, tell us which one to use in the project. Or in your project, if it is already decision done, you should know why it is done. It's nothing but you need to explore not just the code which you write, but what is the other open sources or libraries which are being used in the project, and you have to start making decisions when to do what. And this is bigger than just writing lines of code. It is making decisions at work, and that needs you to study those documentation, code it in your application, see, read more, see whether it really fits the requirement, and you have to do that as you start growing more in your career. And guys, I'm not saying more means even 4 years. Sometimes all this might be required in 3 years of experience also. So again, I'm saying forget about years of experience on paper. All that matters for the IT industry will be your knowledge. Can you make these decisions? Can you think like this? Can you research it properly and independently come up with the right conclusions, not like guesswork? So these are some things. Further, we were using so many SQS related. Okay, in SQS there were Lambda functions. Our Java developers explored Lambda, applied it in the project. You might completely say nahi aata, but people are doing it. So I want to tell you, open up your mind. Just saying I am good in one technology doesn't mean good in a long run. You need to be flexible to research, explore, call yourself a proper software professional, IT professional, which can work on any technology. That should be at the back of your mind. Because I know people, they can just jump in. They might be a UI developer. They jump in, start working on backend. They might be backend developer in Java, maybe for past 8 years, 10 years. They immediately get into a new thing, let's say Python, building a service, using the service. Node.js, building a service, using the service. React, Vue, anything. And that is what is actual IT industry expecting from any professional to do. Yes, maybe you will not always get that kind of challenges and learning curve, but a point will come in your career where you will be expected to do these things. So just be aware. So Lambda functions, Amazon SQS, these are all tools, open sources, or like Kafka. Okay, or in MySQL, let's say Mongo, or we had like Mongo ka AWS version is DocumentDB. Now, point is, there is no end for this. Every project will have something, and that would be another variation. You need to be mentally prepared. IT is going to throw you with all these things. A lot of things will come. Sometimes you would have to decide. Now, start moving in that direction as early in your career as possible. Okay? Very important point, open sources. It would come in any phase of your career. Now, moving on forward. Okay, many projects do third-party integrations. This is a complete different game altogether, but many projects have this. I've seen like many projects. I don't know whether I'm only in these kind of projects where I see this, but I have seen so many projects in the IT industry where lot of third-party integrations happen. What does this mean? Let's say your project, you're working for, let's say, project P1. Okay, you're working for project P1. Now, as your project or your company, you might be interacting with another company, let's say Com2, which will expose APIs, which needs to be consumed by you guys. Okay, and that is what is nothing but third-party integrations. There could be third-party UI libraries. There could be third-party server libraries. There could be third-party mobile apps. Any kind of thing can happen, and this is very common. It's not like once in a while. Again, you should know how to work with these. Okay, very important stuff. What are the standards? How do you work? How do you take care of the security? All of that thought process needs to grow and evolve. Okay, now this is what it is with regards to the third-party integration. Now, as you grow more, and this is what is the entire project which is going to come up. As you grow more in the system, okay, you start realizing a need comes where modularity, design, long-term maintenance becomes the ultimate thing for the project. Okay, modularity, design, long-term maintenance. And guys, these are things which you really have to work hard to understand. The code can be written in an n number of ways. You will be able to meet the requirements. You might even follow the standards, but this needs your mind maturity. When to do what, why you should do things like this, and it will not come by itself. You have to work hard for this. You need to study your project. You need to ask questions to people. Why are we doing like this? Why is always helper classes plugged in like this only? Is there not other way, or is this the best way? You have to read more on Google, read documents on the best ways of coding, take up courses on how do you really enhance your designing knowledge, okay, architecting knowledge. Start spending time, because it will come with experience, and you have to start hunting for that experience. Okay, how to write classes, how to write interfaces, how you can apply all these basic concepts of abstractions and reusability, stuff like that, and basic disciplines. The code should be reusable always. It should be small piece of code. When to use static, when not to use static. Okay, this was really interesting. I went for one of a project in my beginning days. Okay, I was having around, I think, 3 years experience at that time. We were working for a project. It was pretty interesting. In that, on the wall, okay, they bold way they have printed these statements. Nobody should ever use static variables. That's it. Okay, so the company, that project, they made a decision, no static, because they encountered blunders, because people without maturity use static, and really the systems collapse. Static is common for all. People were overriding, doing this, that, and not matured people can do messy code, and it went to production, it blasted. They said nobody will use static. Now just the thing is, you as a person should know what all this stuff should be. Okay, so modular, how do you write a code in a manner it is easy to maintain, it is small, it is reusable? What should be the API contracts, input of those reusable methods? What should be your naming conventions, inputs for that, responses for that, everything. Next, when you talk about design, so all the design patterns start coming up in picture. Okay, now what requirements, how to apply, and there's all these things. You need to spend time in code. You need to see this use case is done like this. And guys, let me tell you unfortunate truth. Many people in your companies, even seniors at times, will not really know the right way of doing it. They just did because somebody told them to do. But the right thought process is still missing. That means if you hunt this rightly, read more, guys, read more, check on the projects, check on how, let's say, big companies build solutions. Okay, there is, I keep referring to this name again and again, like highscalability.com. Nice blogs are available on how big companies have solved their technical challenges. Spend time in reading about it, spend time figuring out, because the more you do that, the more you'll get maturity, and when your project needs something like that, you will be able to better solve it. Okay, so that is what it comes, more of this thing. Now as you start doing and focusing on this, there is another area which comes up. Okay, and this is the ultimate, guys, your performance of application. Okay, performance of application, like how much time it takes for processing. Now, let me tell you, I've seen projects. In fact, in one of my project also, the situation happened. Okay, there are strict thresholds. Okay, this API should respond back in less than 1 second. It has to be 500 milliseconds, 600, but in less than 1 second, the API response should come, mandatory rule. If it is not coming, the rest, because we are part of a big system, if it is not happening in less than 1 second, your full request is not going to be completed, your transactions will be failing. And this is enforced by government regulation. So for whichever company we were developing this project, the government regulation specified, if you want to run your product in our country, then you would have to meet this requirement. Your processing time, the SLA, the time taken for API response, should be less than 1 second, mandatory rule. If it is not happening, we cannot issue you license. And then this was written, signed as an agreement. The tech team will give you in less than 1 second only. Now that means how important performance becomes. And now let me tell you a simple thing. This was a mystery. This is beautiful. Okay. The same code which you write with no data in database will start failing when there is a lot of records. Same code. Okay. And there are cases, a simple select query. Select XYZ from so and so table where condition so and so. Simple select query without joins will also start performing badly in system where huge data is there in the database. Now guys, you have to start getting mature to all this. Yes, this comes with experience, but you need to know the simple coding which you do might not really work in production system because their huge data is there. So at the back of the mind, when you're writing any piece of code in the system, designing tables and all, you need to know if more users use this, what exactly is going to happen in the system. And you have to build accordingly. Okay, and it has to be fast, and this is where it comes, all the algorithm knowledge, time complexity, space complexity, less, it should be more faster, more optimized. All of that drama has to come into effect here. How much time it is taking, what to keep in cache, in memory cache versus Redis cache, what goes in the database, can we aggregate the data, don't every time call the database, let's have a summary information available somewhere. So rather than, so that's where logics get evolved. If your logic is requiring, go to the database and pick, and every time making a database call for some kind of information is not a good solution, then people will come up with another system which goes to the database, summarizes this information, makes it available at a faster access pace so that every request should not do that calculation. That's what architectural changes happen in system. Okay, but again, understand all this comes as part of performance. Now you might be like, junior, say what is the expectation? Let me tell you, this is a project that needs to be built. Whether a junior is working, mid-level working, senior working, business wants end result. Now you define how much you want to do out of this. IT is not going to define that for you. They might pay you, they might do their job by saying, oh, you are a junior, 2 years, 4 years, do only this much. But it's up to you how much to extract out of all of these things, to what level to get inside, to what perfection to get inside, and how much you can train, upgrade yourself to become the best, maybe in your full team. Nobody able to make decisions, you can do it, and it's not going to happen by itself. And it's not going to happen if you just keep waiting, okay, somebody tell this thing to me. You need to be aggressive for you using internet to solve these things, understand these things. If you are waiting in a reactive manner, okay, somebody should come and explain, let me tell you, you will go pretty slow in your IT career, because people might not share it, they might not even know it. If you want to succeed, you need to be driving seat of your life. Hunt the internet, research it, find it, read blogs, read books, check the knowledge, check multiple projects, discuss with your team members, with cross team members, what are they doing, why are they doing that, have talks with architects, leads, involve more in this thought process. And then you draw your conclusions, okay, what is right way of doing, what is not the right way of doing. And that's how you will evolve. But a project needs all of these things. Okay, it's up to you, slowly kar sakte ho, but you can taste a better level of your life here. Okay, fine. So this is what it is. Now on top of all this performance, there is another. Okay, this is a good one. Security. Okay, the must follow disciplines of security has to be there in your code. Okay, some of the examples I'll just tell you. Passwords should never be logged, as simple as that. In your log files, passwords can never be there. For many projects, they avoid sensitive information to be there in the logs. Sensitive information is like customer data. Even email and phone number is sensitive information. It should not be there as plain text. Have it like masked. Okay. This is business critical data, so have it like that. Next, the APIs that you expose. The entire world is communicating with API, one person calling another person via API. The APIs that you write, what kind of security mechanism it follows. Okay, like OAuth token is there, okay, or JWT token is there, okay, or certificate based security is there, or SHA algorithm is there, SHA 256, SHA 512 algorithms are there. When to use what? Okay, this certificate I am talking about public private key encryption. Now the thing is, all this is again part of decision making. Where to use what? And if you just say, in my previous project I did like this, now I will do that, it doesn't work out. Okay, with experience, with maturity, we want you to decide, hey, why did you pick not this but this? Because if you have written that in your code, you become accountable for answering that, whether it's a right decision or wrong decision. You cannot say that, hey, others are doing it like this, so I did. Your clients will be like, we paid money to you, you decided, you take the responsibility. They might impact your billings, they might encounter fines, a lot of drama can happen. So be responsible to search for the right information. Okay, what should we do? What's the right way? And guys, there might be 10 right ways, but in your situation, which is the best way for doing something? And if in your projects, other team members have done that decision, just try to understand why they are doing it. And that's how you will evolve in your career. Okay, that's how you will evolve. Next. Now, this interesting one. Everybody says, I want to be a full stack. Okay, very good. There guys, one quick important tip. When it comes to full stack, many people in IT, they just follow a bad approach, which is average in everything. And that's not a full stack. That's shabby work. Okay, such professionals are undervalued. If you want to become a full stack, you need to be master in one, whether it's front end, back end, whatever it is, master one thing perfectly. You should be a like everything in and out about it, an expert in one field, and then expand to other. If you are average in everything, you will start encountering problems in your career, because challenging problems will come as part of your project cycle, and with average knowledge you will not be able to solve it. Okay, this happened recently. I encountered this incident. Okay, a project, we completed a project. Okay, so some blunder happened. Some of the developers actually screwed up there, and for fixing the project we needed to get other members in to solve the problem. Okay, and it was on a very high tight deadline. In production we needed to launch it, and we were not ready to do that. Mess happened, and then we had to pull in like 2-3 guys to really fix the problem. And then they came in, then they realized ki bhai, these guys developed some wrong design components itself. Okay, and it needs to be rewritten because they made a wrong decision before even starting with the coding. And now if we keep fixing that, the project is going to be buggy, and we will not be sure in production quality wise. Bugs will definitely come because they made a wrong decision for first of all implementing the solution like this. So guys, your initial analysis is very important for your project. Without analysis, if you code anything, it might end up in blunder, and this instance which I'm sharing is one of that. They said in the beginning they did not analyze properly, they made a wrong decision, build everything on top of that decision, and now it's not in a shape, and we are not sure if it goes to production it's going to cause problems only. It's not possible to fix this because it's too much dirty. Then what they said, we want to rewrite this thing, and we said we don't have time. And then the team, okay, the recent incident, the team stretched till like mornings 2 a.m., 3 a.m. A team of 3 people additionally jumped in, worked like that, worked over weekend, something which was supposed to be done with a right decision making in the beginning. It was done wrongly, and for fixing that, People had to do the day and night together, and then they pulled off. But the thing is, it was not even required. So the point here is, you need to be really good. Even if you say you're a full stack, be good in one field and then expand to other, because if you're average in everything, you will make these kind of blunders, compromise decisions, which will backfire you in a long run. Okay, so that's what. So when you want to become full stack, yes, good thing, but start with one and then expand to other. Now let me tell you further. Okay, if you now look your career in a 10 years slot, forget about chota, forget about 2 years, 4 years, look at a big time career. I know literally cases, people for 8 years worked like a backend developer. They were added to a project where there was no backend technology, it was only front end, and the business said, work on this. And they said, work it within 1 week. That's it. Learn it, fix it. You are 8 years of experience. Ek hafte mein karke, just get the project done. And as 8 years of experience, that person cannot say, I cannot do it, because there is no other option. So what I want to really tell is, in a long-term life, you might have to work on anything. So mentally be prepared for that and ready for that. Because if you say, no, I cannot work, I don't know that, they will be like, learn it and do it. And if you cannot do it, they will move you out from the project. And then you have to answer to the HR, okay, why were you removed from the project? And then there could be a number of consequences for that. Okay, so just understand, yes, in a 10 years duration, I have seen people, whether they want voluntarily or not, they were given chances to work on something which they don't know, and they have to learn and work. They have to. It's not a choice. Can you do it or not? It's not a choice. One option is you just quit and move on to a different company. But for how long you will do it? Because they might also give you a similar project. The point is, an IT professional needs to adapt fast. Learn, explore, apply. Learn, explore, apply. Technology is no bar, because market will come with new and new things. What was there 5 years ago might not exist today. What is there today might not exist 6 months from now. Okay, in the UI side, dynamic changes are happening. In the backend side, new things coming, new technology, new ways of working. Everything is changing. In that, if you stick with yourself, I cannot change, it will have problems. So I'm saying, yes, in a long run, everybody should become a full stack and already start learning in that manner. Keep one technology I will start with, but then I will expand my roots for anything which IT has to offer. Okay, and don't become just one guy. Okay, spread it all, learn more. That's how your full stack journey should be. Okay, fine. And now let's even talk about this another thing. Many people talk about this, proprietary tools. Okay, for example, MDM, Master Database Management by IBM. Okay, and Salesforce related projects. And there could be n number. Oracle has their own products. Many companies have their own proprietary products. These are systems or softwares built on top of primary libraries. Okay, and there are many other names. Okay, now the thing is, people make a choice. Should I really go ahead with this? What will happen in my career? Not happen. Again, let me open you 10 years vision. I've seen people, they were really good in one of these things. For a very long time in their career, they were getting nice opportunities from the market, nice money was coming, but they stuck a limit in terms of package, in terms of opportunities. Okay, and then situation were just given, okay, we don't have a project of this right now, we want you to work as an application developer for some other project. Now, for how long you are going to hide? For how long you will say, I am good only in this? Because the market might completely change in 10 years, 15 years, in 5 years, you don't know. You need to know how to learn anything and work on anything. That's the only way of having a successful IT career. Anything else will fail in a long run. Short term, yes, you can do a lot of plan, but when it becomes big, your growth, your opportunities, your packages, everything just broadens up. So I would say, yes, start with one, learn it, take opportunities and all, but parallelly understand what is happening in the industry and be good in that, because that opportunity might anytime come and you might not be able to even have an option of saying, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so being specialist is good, but the thing is, parallelly other things has to be explored and you need to be prepared enough before the things becomes damaging. Okay, now that's the another thing. Start with one, but in 10 years it will be opening. Okay, another thing. Now you need to understand, when we are speaking further about this full stack and the application development cycle, okay, few more things to add. Now, basic knowledge of infrastructure is becoming default. Basic knowledge of infrastructure is becoming default. And guys, there are many projects where developer itself has to work with infrastructure. It completely depends on what projects you are in. But guys, almost right from the beginning of the time, I used to purchase machines on AWS, on Azure, and then we used to host, like me and other developers, we used to host our application softwares there, decide how much RAM we want, how much CPU we want, how much hard disk we want, which processor is good, which processor is not good, and run our system there, install softwares from whatever, like images and backups and stuff like that. Okay, set up backups and log, like log rotations, DB snapshots, everything. Developers did it for the project without any DevOps. And this, I'm not talking right now, I'm talking this we did 8 years ago. 8 years ago, we did all this thing when we were in projects. Now, what does this mean? Your code is not going to run in your hands. It has to run on a system. And if in the system you have a DevOps who can do it well and good, if you don't have that, you might have to take up that role as well. And you will get these opportunities in small scale companies where more growth, more exploring. But again, the thumb rule remains in anything which IT has to offer, you need to know, learn, apply. Okay. On top of that, forget about this infrastructure. But right now, everything, and that is becoming old. Right now, everything in production for companies is microservice in production, which will auto scale when load comes. That's the model in which projects happen. Now, point is, the basic coding that you are doing in your projects, will it scale? It gets interesting here. The basic code which you have written, one class, one method, if let's say same code is installed in one more machine, there are two services running in production behind a load balancer and serving real traffic. Now let's say for doing one, let's say a transaction or a functionality, if there are 3 API calls, what happens if there are multiple services running of the same, or like multiple instances or multiple services running of your functionality, and load balancer is redirecting here and there? Can your application take care of that? Nothing but infrastructure knowledge will guide you how to code properly in this auto scaling kind of systems. You need to think of concurrency, high time. So since auto scaling, I'm saying it's not even for DevOps role related activity. An application developer should think like this: how do I develop things which will automatically scale? Same code in multiple machines. Will there be a problem? Next, with that, more challenges come, like concurrency. If so many requests are coming at the same time for the same method, for maybe multiple users, or for the same user also, can your project take care of that? You might say, how can the same user do? It's a hacking world. People try to exploit the production systems. It keeps happening in my projects, in many projects. Always we see, if you monitor, we have a rock solid production, so we are protected. But if in your system you don't have the right measures in place, people constantly try to hack the prod systems of any projects which is doing good. I've seen emails coming, Okay, they say we have caught your database, and if you want us to release it, pay us so much of Bitcoin amount. Literally, I've seen those kind of emails coming from threat security guys. कि भाई ऐसे ऐसे problem हुआ, is there any risk and stuff like that? Do we have, they say we have corrupted your database, we have trimmed this out and blah blah blah. Okay, you need to be ready for all these threats. So for that, guys, you need to really know a lot of things can happen. If concurrency is happening, fake concurrency or real-time concurrency, is your application capable enough to build? And this is what I would like to say. Building an application needs bigger way of thinking. And whatever we discussed today, it's not something which you can learn just in one day or even 1 year or even at times 3-4 years. It needs time to grow in each of this. But the thing is, now you need to plan your career in this direction. So don't take the pressure ki sab kuch saath mein karna hai, but plan your career. That's what yesterday we said. Constant learning, lifelong skill upgrade, knowledge upgrade. That was one of the rule for career success. If you decide daily 30 minutes, I will learn something, and then give it time. In 1 year, you would have learned so many of these things. And let's say if you're not doing it, if you are not really learning like that, what is going to happen? These backlogs will stay here forever. You will learn only at the mercy of the project that you are in, and projects might not teach you that much. Your team members might not have the right knowledge, first of all, and unfortunately, in a long run, you will not grow. That's the conclusion. A players think different. They drive their life, they know what needs to be done, and they will figure it out. And guys, apart from whatever I mentioned, if you really hunt on internet, this is something which I was able to just recollect because this is so much basic. I'm not saying this is advanced, this is basic. Every project should have this. It's not good to have, it's a must-have stuff. And you need to learn these things as early as possible, because when the client comes, we assure them the right system will be delivered back. Okay? So today's session is fully available, it's recorded. I would highly request you to go through this again. Okay, and I'm not saying that these techniques you'll master in one day, but go through this again, make some notes about it. And tomorrow we are going to do one implementation day. Come with laptops, login, pen, paper, whatever we learned in the day 1 and day 2. Let's try to structurize it. Okay, what exactly you should do for your next coming 3 years roadmap, next 1 year roadmap. Thoda kuch banate interesting, because you have to get movement to your career and life. And even if you're a job seeker, guys, let's come to tomorrow, let's plan it out. What should be your next 3 months plan, 6 months plan in your current job, what you should learn, what you should master, and what you should grow upon. You need to take that first step towards growth. Okay, so let me share the quick attendance link, and if you have any questions, write it down there. It's going to go more deep dive. Okay, so attendance is important, so just give me a minute. December batch attendance is consume, understand, apply. IT is responsibility. It's not like it's job chahiye. IT comes with responsibility, and if you feel that responsibility, projects suffer, people suffer, and risk is there. I've seen penalties happening in industry. Bole bhai 50 lakh rupees dena padega because some blunder happened in your project. Okay, 50 lakhs. One project, client said 1 crore has to be given to us because this was not done properly. Then bargaining happened. I literally saw once where this transaction also happened. 1 crore diya bhi gaya tha because the developers messed it up badly. And that manager went crazy. Jahan pe hua tha. You need to understand, IT is not a casual light job. You might find projects where their seriousness is not there, casualty is there. Okay, but the stuff is that's not going to help in a long run. If you're not serious about your job, you might not even have a job. Let's keep it like that. It's not for average people, this career. Okay, you need to be really expert. If you want to have a 20 years career, you need to be really good at what you do. Okay, so don't compromise, guys. Don't take your jobs for granted, because I know the drama of what happens in the industry. It's not that straight. And if you're just thinking about time pass karenge, so it's going to bite you in the back. Fine, guys. The code for today is 4444, and take the link, continue. And any field that you have, guys, whether it's UI, server, backend, DevOps, everything has its own evolution curve. Okay. So whether it's UI servers or like lead level stuff, architect level stuff, there is a roadmap of next 10 years for everything. You need to define what's your vision of career. Okay. So guys, chalo, mark your attendance. It's already 10:07. Tomorrow, 1 hour, 9 to 10. Let's do practical activities, everybody. Okay, and yes, our morning batch people will meet up tomorrow morning 6 a.m. as well for doing the morning routines. Okay, take a minute, close it, copy the link, guys. We will be turning the session off. Okay, copy the link, and all the very best. Keep learning, keep growing. And IT needs good people, and I'm saying that there are not many good people. So we need to be really great at what we do. It comes with a lot of responsibility. So give your best shot, guys. Okay. Acha, market mein demand is there for good people, package wise, opportunities wise also. Okay. So thank you all. Take care and have a nice day, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you all.